You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and we have another amazing show lineup for y'all. We have a true guest. We have the one and only Alex Marlow. He is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, author of Breaking the Law. He has a super amazing long resume that I can't get into right now, but just Google him. This guy is big. He's on his game. First and foremost, I just want to say good morning. How you doing today, man?
Shamaya, nice to be on with you. Thanks for having me on your program.
Yes, sir. Let's get right into it, man. So, Breaking the Law. Tell us what inspired you to write this book, because there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, I was going through some of the lawfare against Donald Trump, these 6 major cases that were happening to him during the middle of an election cycle. And we were talking about it. It was in the news, but I think people are being too casual about it. We've never seen anything like this, where a sitting United States president, where the opposition administration was clearly coordinating, using the legal system to try to beat him politically. We've never seen this before. And Trump was not only somehow enduring this, but he was dominating in the polls at the time, and they were throwing everything they could at him, and he was standing strong throughout all of it. I couldn't believe what was happening, but I don't think people were really investigating the extent to which there was coordination from the Joe Biden White House with the rest of the legal apparatus in order to try to win an election in the courtroom instead of at the polling place. And that's where I started. And I ended up going back and looking at the history of lawfare, judicial activism, and where it's at present. And so you see some of these things where you see these injunctions, these temporary restraining orders that take place that end up limiting some of the agenda while it's taking place, while it's playing out. And you realize that the most powerful weapon the left has at this moment is the legal system. And so it's a warning that we need to get in front of this. We need to be able to fight back against it. We need a citizenry that's staying engaged and staying vigilant here.
And speaking of the legal system, what can you kind of highlight on Project 65 for those who may have never heard of that? What is that?
Yeah.
And what are the facts?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing this up. This is one of the things that I just learned about while I was researching the book, when I was doing my investigation. Project 65 was started by a guy named David Brock. David Brock founded Media Matters. Anyone who's been online a lot in conservative circles over the last 20 years, familiar with Media Matters. It's a George Soros funded organization that it basically would police conservative media and conservative politicians to try to get them canceled, to try to get them deplatformed, try to get them, make them lose their advertisers if they're in media. And so David Brock moved on, and he started something called Project 65, which is essentially applying the same principles, but in the legal world. So basically, just by nature of being a conservative jurist, a conservative lawyer, then if you represent someone with a conservative cause, then he wants you disbarred. And he's already had a big success. This guy, John Eastman, who helped Donald Trump during the 2020 election and was a dean, or at least a professor at Chapman University in California, and was in good standing in the legal apparatus, he got disbarred. And a part of it's because of this Project 65 organization that's trying to make it so that conservatives can't get good legal representation.
When you think about corporate media versus alternative media, what do you believe is the difference?
So I think that with corporate media, what ends up happening is that people lose sight of freedom because they're more serious about they're more concerned about their business endeavors and less about truth. And this is why I'm a part of alternative media, and you got to be very cautious about this. I wrote my first book, Breaking the News, about this exact subject, that I realized that people talk about the media being liberal, or that's not really it. The media is corporatist. What the media tries to do is try to hold the party line for major conglomerates that are invested in it. And that means that they don't investigate certain things that the corporation might not want them to, and they end up being in a controlled environment. But a lot of the best reporting, a lot of the best commentary is in environments where you're not as controlled, where you're more free to say what you want to say and report what you want to report. So I'm a huge advocate for alternative media, and I think alternative media has found its moment right now.
You think about the impact of how news is being broadcast and is forever changing. I mean, you're also part of SNC. What do you think is the future as far as how people will start consuming the news?
Yeah, so what's happening now, which is really fascinating, is when I was growing up in the news, which isn't that long ago, I'm still in my 30s, but it was people tried to make this distinction between news commentary and just straight news, which wasn't really there, but people acted like you could do that. Now people have totally abandoned that. They want their news with their opinion. They want their favorite commentator to present the news to them and give their take simultaneously, which is really interesting. I'm not judging it as a positive or a negative, but if you see a lot of the rising news brands right now, they're not corporations, they're not magazines, they're not company brands. They're individual brands where people are learning to trust the individual. And for me, I think I'm okay with that. I grew up on talk radio. That was kind of my entree into the media. And then I liked a lot of alternative online websites, and that's where I've always worked. So I'm pretty comfortable with this, but it's a huge development. People used to wait for the Wall Street Journal or for ABC or for CBS or whatever to report something before they believed it. It's not the case anymore.
We're talking to Alex Marlow in his book, Breaking the Law. You having so much success at a young age. I mean, like I said, people can just Google you. I won't waste minutes in going through the resume. But what do you believe is the core reason why people like yourselves are able to not just rise in media, but also be a powerful voice?
It's really kind of you to say that. So for just grinding is number one, but you got to find something you're passionate about, because it's such a competitive country when you're trying to succeed in a business like a media business, or there's a number of businesses that are like that. That's you got to put in those hours. So you want to find a niche where you're very comfortable working long hours. I also really sought out great mentors. I was lucky to work with some of the best people ever to be in the news business, and just whatever career you're in, you got to find that. Find your passion, then find the people who are the best at the thing you're passionate about. Latch onto them, pick up their laundry, pick up their groceries. You have no idea how much you're going to learn. You're going to learn way more from those people just being in the room with them than you will going to school and getting some sort of a degree. I got a degree too. I got a great degree, but it's not as useful as finding those mentorships and just grinding. And then believe in yourself. A lot of stuff, the hardest thing I do is write books. And the thing I'm most proud of in the end is when I write books. So it's just one of those things where it's just because it's a challenge, find mountains that you want to climb and then climb them. And it's a pretty simple formula, but it's worked for me, and I've been very lucky.
Last quick question for you is a lot of younger people interested in the conservative world. What do you believe that this book can help them open their eyes and be open-minded as far as what's really out there as far as facts?
Thank you. Two things there that I like. First of all, the left is always adjusting their tactics. They're always finding new frontiers to try to push their politics. It used to be through the entertainment world and through the establishment media. That was what was the most powerful for them. We've neutralized those a lot with alternative media, and we just make fun of Hollywood now, and movies got woke and people stopped going to them. But now they opened up new fronts. The corporate boardrooms, they tried to take those over. And we're starting to push back, but they wokeified the corporations. That was a big deal. And the lawfare. So I'm just trying to look down the field to see what tactics they're using. That's really big. But this is a fun one, is that we're beginning investigation season. We've got 2 launched, Tish James and Jack Smith. There's going to be a half a dozen more. If you're re-breaking the law, you're going to be all ready to go to understand what's happening and why when the new investigations get launched. And it's going to make it more fun for you to watch the winning take place.
Alex Marlow, New York Times bestselling author, talking about his book, Breaking the Law. Well, like always, I want to say thank you for your time, man.
Shemaiah, nice to meet you, and thank you for having me on.